Hello, I'm Bruce Huhmann, and in this lecture, I'll be providing you with an introduction to business ethics. Just like in our personal lives, we face choices about what is the right and wrong thing to do in our work lives. As future employees, managers, and decision makers, and leaders in business, you can make a positive difference in the world. In fact, you can make as much positive difference in business as in a nonprofit, government organization, or entrepreneurial venture. The key is learning to identify the ethical aspects of decisions or actions and then choosing the course of action that will lead to the most benefit. Most of us want to do well professionally, but also be a positive change in the world and make a difference in a good way. Learning about ethics will help you do that. So, what will you learn in this module? This module calls attention to distinctions between ethics and morality, as well as how ethical considerations differ in the context of business. Due to their legal responsibilities, corporations can only act with mixed motives, as they have responsibilities to their shareholders. These shareholders own the corporation and have invested their money into the corporation so that the managers can use this money to make a return that will provide them with an income stream. Even so, organizations can do well financially by doing good. This reality has shaped the practice of business ethics so that it requires corporations to not only act as compliance-based organizations, where they comply with the law, but also as integrity-based organizations. An integrity-based organization can be achieved through the internal culture, self-regulatory environment, and responsiveness to community shareholders. As such, ethical decision-making, ethical leadership, corporate governance, and corporate responsibility are key aspects of business ethics. So, how do you define business ethics? An ethical issue is a situation or a problem that requires thought, discussion, or investigation to make a decision. New ethical issues are emerging constantly, and it can be difficult to recognize ethical issues. I consider ethics to be a guideline for decision making. These ethical guidelines are based on shared expectations of behavior in particular circumstances. Note that in this definition of ethics, ethics guide rather than dictate choice and subsequent behavior. Ethical decision making is dynamic and must be adaptable to new context. In addition, note that ethics involves choosing a behavior or choice of action, unlike compliance, which involves abiding or obeying, such as legal compliance. Ethical behavior should be the result of ethical intentions based on a stable set of principles or values. One can think of an example where a person or organization obeys a law or is coerced to act ethically, but is only doing the right thing to avoid punishment. Such behavior should not be considered ethical because the person or organization did not decide to do the right thing. They just complied with the law or with outside pressure. Finally, ethics requires that choices are guided by established and stable principles or values that are expected in a society, profession, or organization. What is ethical does not change depending on the person involved or the situation in which these circumstances have arisen. This means that one cannot change his or her principles or values as new ethical challenges arrive. Rather, this set of principles or values should hold over the lifetime of a person or an organization. Ethics is the study of how humans are in relationship with themselves and others, with a focus on the way our core values or principles are translated into behaviors. The study of ethics invites us to consider both what kinds of people we want to be and in what kinds of communities we want to live. We become better people and make a better world through our choices and actions. Ethics guides our decision making to help us make the best choice and select the best possible courses of action or behavior. Now, how does ethics relate to reason and emotion in decision making? Well, for some, like the philosopher Immanuel Kant, rationality or reason can be used to determine the principles by which a person should live. In recent years, ethical theorists have recognized the role of emotions in ethical decision making. Emotions had been neglected for decades beforehand. Discussions about the emotional or sensibility side of ethics featured decision-making aspects such as caring for the other person, developing our conscience, or developing our emotional maturity so we can make decisions that create better outcomes for all stakeholders rather than selfishly focusing only on our own desires. Let's talk a little bit now about distinguishing ethics from morality. Now, there's no agreed upon definition of ethics or morality among theorists. Baird advocates retaining the nuanced distinction between the terms ethics and morality, as it helps elucidate the interwoven relationships of reason and emotion in decision making. Thus, she defines ethics, particularly with regard to ethical decision making and ethical leadership, as follows. Ethics are shared expectations for behavior in particular circumstances, whereas morality is our individual moral compass that lets us know what behavior we expect from ourselves and others in a particular situation. So as you can see, they're related, but they're different. These terms get confused because of how some people use them. Moral purpose, for example, is a term coined by Michael Fallon in his book Leading in a Culture of Change. A moral purpose means acting with the intention of making a positive difference in the environment. Unlike ethical leadership, a moral purpose is an arbitrary construct. A leader's personal morals have no bearing on effective leadership if they believe the decisions they make are for the benefit of those they lead. 18th century British philosopher Joseph Butler believed that instinctive selfishness and pleasure prompt much of our conduct. However, Butler argued that we also have an inherent psychological capacity to show benevolence to others. This view is called psychological altruism, and the concept of psychological altruism maintains that at least some of our actions are motivated by our instinctive benevolence or desire to help others. Now, some believe that we cannot get businesses to behave ethically. Shirley Chisholm, a U.S. Congresswoman, educator, and author, said that when morality comes up against profit, it's seldom that profit loses.